these guys introduce themselves. We'll sit down, I guess. Unless we all want to stand, that'd be a new form of paneling. So how many, we can sort of see over, like, the lights are shining, but how many people are comfortable, like, no Bitcoin? Is there, like, how many people own Bitcoin? How about that? Like, 5-ish. Yeah, I mean, that's like way more than it was about 18 months ago. And how many people have heard of Bitcoin? How about that? Okay, that's like hugely way more than it was 18 months ago. My name's Adam Draper. I founded an accelerator called Boost VC. I'm founder and CEO, and we have a focus on Bitcoin companies. About 18 months ago, well, 2 years ago, I found out about Bitcoin. I was at a coffee with a guy who's pitching me, his name is Brian Armstrong, who's the founder and CEO of Coinbase, and he talked about this, magic currency thing. And I got really into it. I started learning all about this concept, and the two things that really took hold of me, and I'll introduce myself and let everyone else introduce themselves, but the two things that I really loved about Bitcoin was it brought like the world together. It made it so that transactions cross borders no longer mattered. There was frictionless payments cross borders. And then the other thing that got me hooked on Bitcoin was that there had already been a crash. So in 2011 there was a crash in Bitcoin from $30 per Bitcoin to $0 per Bitcoin. Now it's like at, I don't know, $600 or something. Does anyone know what the actual price is today?
580 or something like that.
Okay. Good. I would have expected the exchange to know, but okay. Well, my name is Adam Draper. We've accelerated about 22 Bitcoin companies now. 2 of them sit up here, and then we have 2 Steves on the other side that are starting other CEOs of other Bitcoin companies, and so we'll get a huge, great demographic of different spectrum. So, Jacob, will you introduce yourself?
Cool. Yeah. My name is Jacob Hansen, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called CrowdCurity. We do crowdsourced web security. So you can think of us as 99 designs for IT security. And as you probably have heard, there's been various situations within the Bitcoin industry and about websites and exchanges and wallets being hacked. So at the moment, we actually provide a crowdsourced security solution for many of the Bitcoin businesses, around 50. So these are top Bitcoin wallets, top Bitcoin exchanges that we connect with security testers from all around the world and ask these testers to help these Bitcoin businesses find security issues. Then we also pay the testers with Bitcoin. We accept Bitcoin as a business, and we just like Bitcoin. So, yeah, that's CrowdCurity.
My name is Avish. I am one of the founders and CEO of a company called Vaurum. We are an exchange that works primarily with a number of different financial institutions, so hedge funds, family offices, wealth managers, and a number of different types of Bitcoin businesses that enables people to buy and sell Bitcoin in mass quantity. So we are based here in the U.S. and we're actually just a Palo Alto company. We're in Boost's 2013 batch, and yeah.
Stephen Sprague, I just introduced you to Rivetz. Maybe I just give you a little comment on how I got introduced to Bitcoin. So it was a dark, cold night in January in Western Massachusetts, and somebody, actually Bradley, sent me an email saying, "There's a Bitcoin conference in Miami," and I called my wife on my portable phone and said, "So, I'm going to go to Miami for the weekend." So that's how I got into Bitcoin, was getting out of the -10-degree temperatures and going and hanging out at the rooftop bar in Miami, which was quite an insane conference. And if you haven't been to a Bitcoin conference, you have to go.
Easiest way to get excited.
You have to go
to Miami.
Because they were expecting like 200 people. 1,200 people showed up. We ate absolutely nothing for 3 days because there was no sponsors, there was no drinks, there was no food. It was just Bitcoin 24/7, and it was a fantastically good time. But that was how I got introduced to Bitcoin.
So I'm Steve Beauregard, founder and CEO of GoCoin, and I have to tell my story now. So the way I got introduced was I ran a software services practice for about 20 years, where we would build enterprise-grade websites, e-commerce sites, mobile apps, integrating all of these things with social, et cetera, et cetera. And for my wife, we were building a site for her. And she said in 2011, hey, I want to go out and buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and give it out as loyalty points for people exhibiting the right behavior on my site. So we looked at it and said, well, it doesn't look really interesting now, but if you could imagine if we bought $10,000 worth of Bitcoin back when it was probably 30 cents, that would have been a smart move. But then again, I guess we would have given it all away. So anyway, my company provides software to enable websites to take Bitcoin as a payment method at checkout, and then we can either turn that into cash for them, pay them out in Bitcoin, or any combination thereof. We also take Litecoin and Dogecoin. We're one of the few that on an international level accept altcoins as well. And we do that because we're not sure whether Bitcoin is going to be the Napster or the MySpace, or whether it's going to be the Facebook or the Instagram or one of the others.
That's great. So I am going to get the little panel started with a question about mass adoption for Bitcoin. I'm going to start with Steve, GoCoin Steve. And because I feel that sort of the merchant side is sort of a really important part of getting mass adoption for Bitcoin. I was just wondering what merchants have been working for you to be like helping, or what merchants are like accepting that is heading us in the direction of mass adoption.
Sure. One of the things that's really interesting, and I probably have one of the best front view seats to consumer behavior with Bitcoin, watching what people buy, what time of day they buy, all of the metrics, and also when they use altcoins versus when they're using Bitcoins. But some of the things that are very obvious use cases is where people want their privacy maintained. For example, if somebody's going to an adult entertainment site and they don't want to necessarily have that on their credit card. So that's a very good use case. Like it or not, Silk Road was a great use case. People went out and bought Bitcoin because they wanted to go buy illegal drugs. Well, they found out very quickly it wasn't anonymous. They found out very quickly that they weren't above the law. So what are the use cases where it's legal, but there's still payment friction, and it gives a reason beyond speculation why people need Bitcoin?
Yeah, so what are your guys' thoughts in general about sort of mass adoption?
Yeah, so I think Bitcoin struggles with a few things. The first is most of our customers are financial institutions that are trading it as they would trade any other stock or ETF, and they're actually speculating with it. I think in order for Bitcoin to actually get mass adopted, it needs to be used in a way that is so obvious, kind of like Uber, in a way that's so obvious for consumers, where it's frictionless, it's invisible, and the technology is simply used as a vehicle to serve for value transfer, whether it's from a consumer to a merchant, or whether it's for a remittance payment from the U.S. to Argentina. And I don't think that's happening right now. So I think right now there are merchants that are accepting Bitcoin, and it's great, but the fact of the matter is most people aren't actually going to their local coffee shop and buying a coffee in Bitcoin. So I think that really, really clear use case for Bitcoin has not been developed yet, or the infrastructure for it just hasn't been developed yet. Maybe it has been developed, like remittances would make sense, but there's no infrastructure, so it's not economical yet. So I think that needs to.
Yeah, this is the reason I started with this is because this is one of the questions that we at Boost just sort of struggle over, because the whole reason that we're actually launching 100 Bitcoin companies in the next 3 years is because we're just creating use cases for Bitcoin. And I don't know which use case is actually going to be mass adopted, but I would like to think they're smart guesses.
So I think of this as a modernization of transactions.
Yes.
So what do you want? So Visa has stood in our way to modernize the transaction for 20 years. So we've had no improvements in e-commerce. None at all. You're still typing in 16-character codes, the little codes on the back. You got to type in an expiration date. Why do you need an expiration date? Why does the merchant need to know when your credit card instrument stops working? Well, because it's past it. Well, that's sort of silly. They can just make the number expire. The concept, so that's just the payment mechanism. What if every time you bought software, we put in the blockchain